What is the most common reason that marriages fail?
That's a great question, but it's a question that everybody wants there to be a simple answer. Like they want me to say cheating or money or, the internet. But the reality is, I think it's a lot of little things. It's disconnection. That would be my answer. The reason marriages fail is disconnection. What causes disconnection? That's the bigger and I think more important question, because like Tom Wolfe said about bankruptcy, it happens very slowly and then all at once. Disconnection happens very slowly and then all at once. So most of the time what I think people want is an answer like cheating. But cheating is the big all at once thing. How did we get to the place where cheating was even something you were thinking about doing, or that you would think about and then cross the line from thought into action? And that's, I think, the big question. So disconnection would be my answer.
Do you think it's possible to introspect, like looking backwards for every individual case where the disconnection began and how it evolved?
Sure, yeah. This is such a multivariate equation. It's a dance. It's a chemistry. It's what did you do and what did the other person do? And see, the interesting thing about being a divorce lawyer is I'm weaponizing intimacy in a courtroom. So I'm telling, it's full context storytelling, what I do for a living. So what I do is I take my client's story and I have to present it to a judge and make my client the hero in every way and the other side the villain in every way. Now, I have to be careful not to do that in a manner that loses credibility, because even a judge would know. Even a judge is smart enough to know that no one's all good or all bad. But only if you were reverse engineering a relationship and saying, how did this break? You really have to look at both people, the good and the bad, what each of them did that moved the dial in these different directions. And I think that's very hard for anyone going through a divorce to do about their own relationship. We don't know who discovered water, but it wasn't a fish. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in it, I don't think you see it clearly. I think as a divorce lawyer whose job is to really drill down on the facts and figure out what's going on in this story, I have to look at both sides. So I have to think a lot about my own arguments, but I also have to think about what's the other lawyer's argument going to be, especially in custody cases. So I really have been forced to look at both sides for so many years, so deeply in relationships, that once you do that, you realize that the good guy, bad guy thing just doesn't apply.
I wonder if it's the little things or a few big things that cause this connection. Whether it's, you've talked about granola and blowjobs, mm-hmm. But those seem to be stories that you can tell to yourself, like, maybe that story should be explained, or maybe not.
You don't think granola and blowjobs is self-explanatory?
Almost. I think people can construct a good, like if you ask GPT, what do they mean? I think the story that would come up is a pretty good one. But, that's a story you tell about when you first knew the disconnection has begun. Is when he stopped buying my favorite granola, or when she stopped giving blowjobs.
I would say when it's reached like a critical mass.
Yeah, phase shift of some sort.
Because I think it started before that. When she said, yeah, I used to give him blowjobs, and when we were in our early relationship, and then one day, like I just was like, oh well, we don't have as much time. Like, well, I'll wait until later, and we'll have sex, and then we both enjoy it.
Blowjobs are inefficient.
Yeah, exactly correct. So
you batch it all together.
Yeah, so she said, well, exactly. And they had kids at that point. So I think she really was like, hey, we've got a certain window.
Yeah.
So let's have something we both enjoy. So I don't think she had any negative intentions there. I think that she was working in good faith towards the betterment of the relationship, but it was having this second order effect. And so I really do think that, yeah, the blowjobs, granola. Anyone who's been in a long-term relationship, I guess it's just worth asking the question, what does this person do that makes me feel loved? Because I think it's very interesting in my own experience in life. Remember, I had a difficult chapter with one of my sons, my younger son, when he was in his early 20s. And we were having a heartfelt conversation. And I said to him, do you know I love you? And he said, well, yeah, of course I do. I said, but do you feel my love? Like, do you feel it? You know, not just do you know it intellectually, do you feel it? And I remember thinking to myself, when do we feel someone's love, right? Like, what is it that they do? And sometimes it's the weirdest, silliest things that they would never know. They are the person who's showing us that they love us and that we're feeling their love. They would never show us. Like, if you said, why does this person love you? They wouldn't say, oh, because I always make sure that when the paper comes, I bring it from the bottom of the driveway to the door so they don't have to go out and get it. Or I always hold the door for them. Or I always, like, again, I buy the granola that I know this person likes, you know, or I remembered that they don't like it when I put on this particular record, so I don't put it on. Like, and those are these, yes, they're small things, but they're not small. They're kind of everything.
Do you think it's good to communicate that stuff?
Well, 100%.
It takes away some of the power of it, right?
When you point it out, then the person realizes, oh, okay, he likes this or dislikes this. So yes, there becomes a deliberateness to it, you know, a conscious. So I understand not pointing that out when it's a good thing. I think when it's a negative thing, like I think in the granola situation, if she had said to him, hey, you used to do this and you've stopped, that feels like something to me. Like she said, she didn't say anything about that. Just like he probably didn't say anything about the blowjobs. Like, I think if there had been a moment of, this is starting, let's talk about it while it's starting. But people wait. From what I can see, people wait until the big thing happens. The financial impropriety, the substance use disorder, the cheating. They wait for that to happen. And then they go, where did we go wrong? And the answer is quite a while ago with the granola.
Yeah. So when you notice something, like you notice that little something, talk about it. Because that little something is probably a kernel of a deeper truth. Of course, there's also moods. We're all like a roller coaster of emotions. So you can not bring a granola one day just because you're in this place where just nothing is just cynicism everywhere, just anger and so on. But it's a temporary feeling. But maybe that temporary feeling is grounded in some other deeper current that's actually building up.
Yeah, and I think a good partner wants to understand the currents of their partner, right?
Empathy.
They want to understand, like, hey, are you going through something? Like, and look, if I'm the one you need to take it out on, that's okay. Like, I'm a big boy. I can take it, you know? Like, if you're hormonal, if you're, you know, frustrated at work, if you're whatever, like, we should be able to, you know, to have a little bit of that interaction in a relationship. But I do think it's so easy to just say to people, oh, communication is the key. But it really is about fearless kinds of communication. It's about really honestly saying to somebody, you know, this feels like something to me. Am I wrong? Like, this just feels like something to me. And also how that's presented. I mean, one of the things I'm very caught up on or feel very strongly about is that we have been encouraged culturally to criticize people we're in long-term relationships with. Not new relationships. New relationships, you put the person on a pedestal, you're allowed to just, oh, they're wonderful. But every trope out there in every form of popular media is like the wife rolling her eyes at the husband and the husband being like, oh, this loathsome harpy that castrated me. As if like people are just passive players in their lives. And I think that is an incredibly toxic message to send to people, that this is how we should be relating to our partner. Like, you don't take the piss out of your partner in front of people. Like, the successful relationships I've seen are where people are just cheering for their partner, where they are thick as thieves, where there is just this feeling of like, man, they like each other. Like, they got each other's back like you wouldn't believe. Like, man, you could take sides against anybody, but take sides against their partner, you're going down. Like, and that when you see a couple that has that, you just, you know, that's so hard to break. But I think that comes from having like a steadfast, no, I don't do that. Like, I don't shit talk my partner.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't shit talk my partner to me.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that to me is because I think we're just so criticized by the world. The world is so full of criticism. We criticize ourselves so harshly that having a partner who, no matter what, is like, you've got this, I'm with you. Like, okay, yeah, you screwed up. I see it. Look, I'm not going to lie to you about your blind spots. You screwed up. But you know what? People screw up sometimes. You got a right to screw up. A lot of people screw up. Come on, get up. Let's go. I know you have it in you. If you have that person like that, I feel like that's a superpower to have that effect on another person.
Yeah, one of the things I love seeing, when you look at a couple and one is talking, like in an interview, answering a question, especially like intellectual questions, like, what do you think about the war in Ukraine or something? And then the partner is talking, and then the other person is looking at them as if they're hearing the wisest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like they're still looking at them, not waiting for their turn to speak, not thinking about how's the audience going to take that, but they're looking at them like, God damn, I'm so lucky to be with this smart motherfucker.
Isn't that? But there's a scene,
and they could be saying the dumbest shit ever.
There's a scene in the movie True Romance.
Yes,
I love the movie. Great movie. I mean, that Gary Oldman scene is like the greatest scene ever done in film, you know, with Christian Slater and he. But there's a scene in it where she holds up a sign to Christian Slater and it says, "You're so cool."
You're so cool, yeah.
And I like, man, like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I think I say it somewhere in the book that, you know, you go to weddings and like when the bride walks in, you know, everybody's looking at the bride. It's her show. You know, everybody turns around. It's the first glimpse everybody gets of the bride. And I never look at the bride. I always look at the groom looking at the bride. Because there's this, like, to me, that's like, he has this look like this, because this is the first time he's seeing her in the dress most of the time. And also, he's seeing her like, holy shit, she's coming down the aisle. We're getting married. Like, but this is it. And everyone's looking at her. And I always look at him because I always think to myself, like the look on his face is like, that's like this feeling of like, holy, yeah, wow, okay. Like, that's, everyone's looking at her and she's mine and she's coming up here and we're getting married. And I feel like, yeah, like that kind of adoration, like, I think that's the look we're describing, is like adoration, like that the words coming out of their mouth, that they're like, yeah, that's mine. That one's mine. You know, that's such a great thing. Like, it's such a great feeling.
Seeing the good stuff, like with True Romance. I mean, you could make fun of the guys totally cringe wearing Elvis, like essentially being a fake Elvis with shades, and like, what is he doing? It's like watching these kung fu movies. But from her perspective, and from a perspective you could take on him, this is the baddest motherfucker who's ever lived. Yeah. Like, he's willing to do those things for me, but not like, it's almost like an epic, heroic figure. Yeah. And we're living in this epic hero story.
And what does that do to him, though?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, see, that's the point. Like, if there's a point to this whole thing, this whole couple thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand this idea of, you know, we had a successful marriage. We were married for 50 something years. We were miserable for 47 of them, but we hung in there. Like, this is an endurance event. Like, the primary relationship of your life, you've decided you're going to turn into like a 50-mile trail race. Mm-hmm. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, congratulations, you took the concept of monogamy and made it something that two people are absolutely not going to enjoy, but you hung in there. Yeah. Like, congratulations. And I understand there's religious perspectives that say, well, it's a sacred covenant, but I have a real chicken or the egg problem with that. Yeah. Because I think it was like, well, how do we sell this incredibly stupid concept that isn't working to people? I know, we'll tell them God says you have to, and we'll sign on for that. I don't buy it. I don't buy it anymore. I really, because when you see a successful marriage, or you see two people, even without a marriage, you see a pair bond, you see a couple that really love each other and cheer for each other in that way, and like hang on each other's words that way, and like are just in each other's corner that way, you see the fake shit instantly. Yeah. Like, you see the difference right away. It's like, if you know, this is the first time I've come to Austin. I thought I'd eaten a lot of barbecue in my life. I've never had Texas barbecue. I
Yeah.
landed, I went and had barbecue.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I've never had barbecue before. Apparently, this is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. I think it's like once you see real love, like real love, and I mean romantic love, like real love like that, real bond, real, you go, oh yeah, this other thing's not going to do it.
Do you think that's a daily deliberate choice that a couple like that makes? Because it feels like a very easy to do deliberate step. Like choose to see the brilliant in it, the beautiful in it, and almost immediately everything shifts and it becomes this momentum where all you see is the beautiful and all you see is the brilliant.
That is a conscious choice. I think approaching life that way is a conscious choice. Approaching any relationship that way is a conscious choice. I mean, looking at someone who hurts you or does something hurtful to you and thinking about what's going on in their life that they're doing that or what's happening with them. Yeah, that's a very conscious choice. And I think a better one, a better one than seething in animosity and letting that eat you alive. But I don't know that I don't think it should be so difficult. Like with our children, with our pets, we don't have this problem. Like you never have someone look at their dog who they've had for 8 years and go, I got to get a new dog. Like I've had this one for 8 years. Like I got to get, like puppies are so cute. What am I doing with this old dog? Like it's the total opposite. They're like, oh my God, this is like my dog. This is my dog. Like the smell of the dog is like, this is my dog's smell. The bad habits of the dog. You're like, oh, it's my stupid dog that does stupid things. And it's not like that has to be a conscious, like they wake up every day and go, I should be grateful for the dog. Like it's just visceral. It's in them, you know? And so, and your children, like people's children, you know, it's why people are like not aware of how annoying their children are because they're not annoying to them. Like I get it. Like to you, the sound of your kids shrieking is like, oh, my kid's having a good time. And you don't get that. And see, when I hear that, I try to hear it with those ears. Like, oh, that, like I'm a parent, I get it. My kids are adults now, but like, I get it. Like, so when I hear a kid shrieking, I just am like, oh, like to that parent, that's the sound of that kid having a great time and good. Like, it's so nice that that's in the world. But so for me, it has to be conscious. For that parent, I don't think it has to be conscious. So I think it would be great if it didn't have to be a conscious practice. But I wonder if, like anything in meditation or mindfulness, it's a matter of exercising that way of seeing. Yeah. And then once you've come to that, it becomes does easy. Itself, right? Like it really does. Like I think it initially has to be a conscious practice. And by the way, it's easier to make it a conscious practice before it started to fade, right? Like that's what's so amazing about marriage is there's like almost 8 billion people in the world and you're picking this one. So when you marry, in theory, like the stock's at its highest, like you're as crazy about each other as you could possibly be. So that's the time to get into this mindfulness, to get into this practice. Not once it's like the wheels are starting to come off. It's much harder. It's like gaining a bunch of weight and then saying, okay, how am I going to lose the weight now?
Well, I think that even before marriage, like right away, just see everything is beautiful. Let me quote BoJack Horseman on this. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
That's great.
There's a certain sense where if you from the very beginning, of course you could end up in toxic relationships that way, but you know, life is short. You're going to die eventually. Might as well really go all in on relationships.
There's a line in Drugstore Cowboy, which is a great film, where he says, we played a game you couldn't win to the utmost.
Yeah.
And I think life is a game you can't win. And so you play it to the utmost. Like to love anything is insane because you're accepting that you're going to lose it. Like I'm a dog person and you get a dog and you've just resigned yourself to unbelievable pain because this thing's going to die in like 10 years, maybe 15 if you're lucky. And why would you open your heart to that? Why would you because the joy is just so wonderful of it, of the ride up until it. Same thing with us. I mean, every marriage, every relationship, every love is going to end. It's going to end in death or divorce. So why not like just go in? Like go in and just get weird, you know? Like don't define it the way that's, I mean, look at, you know, again, we keep going back to True Romance, but just get weird. Like, yeah, I love this Elvis pretending to be weirdo. I love this, like, you know, like former sex worker who's like, you know, like whatever, like just go in, like love this person, have them love you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing in their relationship. Like we're in such, I mean, it's not to me surprising that as the performative aspects of life on social media increases, people's satisfaction with their relationships and the divorce rate, you know, is following the same trend because I think everyone's going, well, what's everybody else doing? You know, well, how much sex is everyone else having? The only two people that should worry about how much sex you're having are the two people. If the two people are happy in the relationship, great. Then what does it matter? What does it matter what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, there should be an element to great relationships and great friendships of like, fuck the world. It's us versus the world.
It's us.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say that thick as thieves, like when they're like a unit like that, because it's just us. It's just what we want. It's what we like. And that's why I said, like, you know, even when it comes to sex or things like that, like if you can't be candid with your partner about whatever weird shit you're into or what fantasy you had in any particular, well, then who the hell can you be candid with? I mean, because you're going to either go without or go elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And neither of those is a particularly healthy option or helpful option. It's the start of that decline. So why open yourself to that decline, which invariably is just the path to the chair in front of me in my office?